So Pipsissewa, Chemophilia, which is Greek for winter loving. Umbellata is the Latin name of this plant, or Western Prince's Pine. And this is in the heath or the wintergreen family, Ericaceae family. And it's a woody dwarf evergreen. I kind of like thinking of it as a dwarf evergreen because it is very tiny. Those are basically full plant sizes that I harvested there for you. It's like kind of this miniature evergreen forest.
So is it considered a tree?
No.
Okay.
But it is an evergreen, so the leaves are green throughout the year. And so how would you say you would identify it, like looking at the leaves and...
They have little teeth on the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And stripy teeth.
Do they have teeth all around the leaf, or...?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, yes they do.
Yeah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
And the veins are particularly, they branch at the same place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they often...
Sturdy.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of our local evergreen shrub-like plants like Spilal, kind of some, and like bearberry, kind of similar medicine, similar texture of the leaves.
Getting ready for winter.
Well, I mean, they're evergreen, so they're year-round
They don't change?
plants.
Yeah, they're going to stay green all year.
Right.
Not the color.
Mm-hmm.
Does the structure change in the winter?
I don't know. Yeah, these grow on my property. Fortunately, I have a couple, like 2 or 3 groves of them, which is really nice because, they have a relationship with the mycorrhizal network, so they only grow in certain places, certain duff forest floor areas, and so they're not always super abundant. And I had only known of one other place on Waldron where they were, and then I found them on my property, so that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But also they grow on Orcas on the west side of Moran. A few years ago when we were going to do the apprenticeship, there was a student who lived up Buck Mountain and had backyard access to the west side of Moran. There was a bunch of Pipsissewa. So there might be other places in the park where it grows. And then it flowers in late summer, and you can see those beautiful flowers in small clusters. I don't know if that seed head made it around, but that's, it's usually like 3 to 10 flowers, and they're pink and waxy, and there's those bulbous green ovaries with the purple tipped stamens coming out. Yeah. And we'll have to look at the loop. Scott Cluse says that they're hairy plants, but I can't see any, or slightly hairy, but I can't see any hair on them. And this is a North American native plant. It also grows in Eurasia and South America. In our region, it grows from Alaska to California in coniferous forests. Again, this is a forest floor plant growing in the duff layer where there's a good mycorrhizal network of certain species. The soil is usually loamy, uncompacted, well-drained forest soil. It likes the shade, and it's a very sensitive plant, so you need to be careful of stepping on it and how you engage with it. But you can harvest the upper whorls of leaves, or they call them false whorls of leaves. You can see the leaves are arranged in those kind of whorly patterns on some of those plants. So if you just harvest the top whorl, then you'll keep the plant. The plant will continue to grow. So that's a more sustainable way to work with this plant.
You just harvest the top.
Yeah, that top part. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to dry. You have to make sure it's thoroughly ventilated screens, and otherwise it'll brown quickly. You want it to kind of stay green and dry it relatively slowly, but also not letting it take too much time to dry. And the root is occasionally used. I haven't tried this use but as an anti-rheumatic or to improve kidney function. And I think this was used, maybe the root, I can't remember, but parts of this plant were used, I think, in making root beer, because some of the species have menthol salicylates, which we talked about with violet. Violet kind of had that menthol type flavor that's usually an indicament of some sort of, it's like an aspirin-like constituent, but plants that contain that flavoring were often used as a flavoring agent. So like wintergreen, the herb wintergreen, which is in the same family or similar to Pipsissewa, has a strong wintergreen menthol salicylate flavor. And so plants like that were used to originally flavor things like root beer. So you can taste that the main constituents in this are tannins, right? So it's going to be a good tannin medicine for tightening tissues or working with various pathogens. But it's also got arbutin, which is the main constituent in bearberry, uva that's used for UTIs, because it's a very specific antiseptic for the urinary tract system and also a diuretic. Pipsissewa has less arbutin than bearberry, so bearberry is often more often used, but you could use it for like a more low-grade chronic UTI or just in stronger quantities for UTI. But the thing with arbutin and UTIs is you need an alkaline urine for it to be effective. So you don't want to be mixing it with cranberry juice, which people often do in formulas. And you could put a little baking soda in it to make sure that the urine is alkaline. But it is quite diuretic. I think you all were here saying I drank a couple of cups of this, and it really felt like I was just like clearing out, and I just had so much urinary abundance. So it really worked. And also last night I was feeling kind of weird, like maybe I had like a weird plant in the greens I harvested from the garden or something. I'd just eaten dinner and I drank this tea, and all of a sudden it just like cleared everything up for me, and I felt really great. So it does have some associations with potential digestive tract use, but or more broad scale use. But that was my experience anyway, and that was just kind of like a 15-minute tea. Some of its actions include warming, stimulating. We know it's quite astringent. It both stimulates the kidneys but also strengthens them. And by helping to increase urine output, it can resolve edema or swelling in different areas of the body. So helpful in if there's conditions of arthritic pain that's worsened by swelling. It acts as a lymph mover as well, so stimulating lymphatic flow. It has some hypoglycemic qualities, lowering blood sugar. And it's been traditionally known as an alterative or tonic, so working kind of holistically on systems of the body, specifically as a digestive or liver tonic. And it was often traditionally used topically as a rubefacient. So rubefacient herbs are often used on arthritic joints to bring blood to the surface. They can be irritating. So the thought is by irritating the tissues, you're bringing blood and circulation to joints that are in pain or need some stimulation. So specific for UTIs and kidney issues, but especially if there's itchy pain in the urethra or bladder, or if there's a mucosal discharge. And scanty urine as well. So it's good for cold, stagnant conditions because it's warming and stimulating, where there's water retention and a mucosal discharge. This helps to strengthen the bladder as well. where there's incontinence and lack of muscle tone, helps with swollen prostate or other prostate related issues, swollen glands, and skin related eruptions if there's issue of waste removal from the lymph or through the body as well. That's okay. Let's see. So the tea, you use a 1/2 ounce of dried herb in a pint of water, and do 1 to 4 ounce doses, even up to 8 ounce about 3 times a day. You can also tincture the leaf, 1 to 2 fresh leaf or 1 to 5 dried leaf, and do 20 to 40 drops of the tincture 4 times a day in water for a UTI. I would tend to use a tea for a UTI over a tincture. I just think you're gonna, because part of it is you need to drink more water, so you want to get more fluids in, and it's something that you can take more frequently, and I think it just moves through the body differently.
1/2 ounce of dried herb and how much water?
Per pint. And then the only cautions and contraindications that I know of is that chronic use may lead to a certain chemical toxicity, but that's, large quantities over long periods of time, and the fresh leaves can sometimes cause contact dermatitis. You might consider working with this with other antimicrobial herbs for UTIs or with demulcent herbs to kind of create a more balancing formula. And natives in the area use this plant similarly to how we would use it, but they also use it in bathing for sore muscles and as a tea for cold and flu. Again, this overnight infusion I did has a really high tannin content, so that could potentially kill any bacteria or viruses that you have entering your system.